Hey guys, this is Dr. Bagley. Today I'm going to do a little clip. It's going to be defining a little bit more about what a independent woman is. I've been for a couple of weeks now um, counseling people about arguing so much in relationships and the defining aspect of the argument. And I come to find out that ladies in today's time, they really want to have a strong verbal self about themselves. All right, which is fine. You have to speak your thoughts verbally about what you like, what you don't like. But at the same time, is it really what a guy's looking for in a relationship? And this is what I want to talk to you a little bit about. Excuse me for all that. So if you look on the message here, it says, I'm coming from Proverbs 31, verse 11. So for those of you who are Christians or whatever, your belief systems, you can read there, it says, the heart of the husband safely trust in her so that he have no need to spoil. This is a King James version aspect of it. And I'm using this not to teach religion, but just to show you or use this as a case study, if you will, to explain a little bit more about what an independent woman really is. All right. So when it comes to the guys, all right, so pay attention, ladies. Please pay attention. When it comes to the guys, there's those guys who are alpha. We will express ourselves immediately. Then you have those guys who are not so much alphas, but secondary and thirdary and whatever you want to call them. They think or they verbalize themselves within their mind. They're not going to tell you immediately how they feel. Um, and depending on how they feel will depend on how long they're going to stay within the relationship. The very nucleus of all guys, regardless of the culture, regardless of the race, regardless of any of all of that, is the fact that we men, like women, we can trust. Now, what does that have to do with the independent woman? Well, the independent of a woman is wrapped around that word trust. If the guy doesn't feel like he can trust you, then you have an issue. And then that issue mixed in with time will then end the relationship. So let me help you in defining safely trust. So if I have a woman, which I do, and I say, this is not what I want, she'll come back to me and say, well, okay, I'll change. And if she says, hey, honey, I really don't like that, and I will say to her, okay, honey, I'll change. That communication, that respect of back and forth, helping each other or changing one another's likes and dislikes helps us merge together a better self of trust. So if I say, hey, I don't like this, and she changes whatever it is I don't like, and we're using clothes for an example, honey, I don't like that. It's a little too risque. She'll just say, okay, fine, I'll change. That tells me internally that when I go to work, I can safely trust her. Now, is that 100% complete? No, of course not. But that's the starting beginning, if you will, of the relationship that builds that trust aspect of that relationship into the safely trust within their relationship. The independence within that woman is that line right there has been misconstrued. Women, for some reason, think that if a man says, honey, I don't like this, that their independence of what they like in conflict of what the men like, they're supposed to hold that. That is where the butting, that's where the conflict, that's where the argument ultimately is at, that level right there. When a man says, honey, I don't like this, and you say to him, honey, this is what I wore when you first met me, uh, automatically, depending on, again, the alpha, he's going to express himself very clearly in an argument. The non-alpha, he's thinking in his mind, as soon as you say, this is where, hey, this is what I wore when you first met me, in his mind, he's thinking, I'm through. And he's just saying that just that much. And that context of not respecting the man in changing to the man's trust point of view. Let's use clothes for an example. Honey, I don't like this, a little risque. And you then say, okay, honey, I'll change. That builds that trust. There's no argument into that. That is what builds trust. So in context, if you want to start off with that, not arguing, ladies, your independence is not the conflict or butting against the guy in what he says. Hey, that's too risky, and say no. This is what I want. Don't do that. If you say okay, I'll change, you'll know, you'll build that trust. And at the same time, if you say to him, honey, I don't like that, and he'll say, I will change, you automatically know he's a good man. He then in his mind thinks you're a good woman, and then you guys can grow together. What an independent woman is not just that aspect of compromising, if that's the word we could use. It's the outside of that compromise. What a guy at a certain level looks for in a woman, making her a independent woman, is simply a woman who has her own job, a woman who has her own banking, a woman who has her own car, a woman who has her own place. That to me is a independent woman. You can do all kinds of research behind this, scripturally or non-scripturally, and you will find the independent woman is someone who can stand on their own. And because she can stand on her own, that makes her strong. Is a stronger woman. Now, when a man, depending on the type of man, he can then come into that woman's world, and should say that he should take you from where you're at and help you get to that next level. If a man can't take this independent woman who has her own job, who has her own house, her own car, if a man comes to this type of woman, and ladies, you find that he can't take you from one place to the next, you should automatically know that there's going to be some issues behind that. He might not be the one for you right now. And if you look at the other clip that I have before this, when we talked about stereotype, where we talked about how come you're still attracting these crazy guys. Okay, so check that one out. So independence, real quick. Independence is not saying, and let's use clothes as an example. Honey, I don't like that's a little too risque. Independence is not saying to him, no, this is what I wore before you. That's not independence. That should be a compromise. That if you compromise and he's compromising to you, then that brings down the argument within your relationship. The independence aspect is you have your own job, you have your own stuff. Now, if you don't have anything, if you're still living home with mama, if you're still trying to find a job, if you don't have anything, then you're not independent. And depending on the guy, he's going to either use you, or he should, if he's a decent guy, should take you still to that next level. So hopefully that helps out a little bit. Let me continue with that scripture just real quick. The base of this scripture, and I'm not sure about the Quran or the others, but this one says that he should have no need for spoil. That simply means when a man doesn't trust the woman, he's automatically in his mind thinking, I'm moving on to the next one. And that's something you ladies need to be aware of, is when you say at that level that we just talked about, no, I'm not changing, I'm not compromising, this is who I am, with that attitude, he automatically in his mind thinking, I'm the spoil aspect is he's thinking, I need to go somewhere else. So be aware of what you're doing. Don't argue with the guy at that level. Compromise with him. And if he's compromising, then you guys are a good match. If you're arguing at that level of your independence, then you're just going to lose. You won't have a healthy relationship. And if you have stuff, make sure you have the guy come along that can take you to that next level. If he can't, then just be aware that that relationship might not be as strong as it could be. All right. So I hope this helps out a little bit. Um, Go to my website. I'll have it in the clip right here. If you have any questions, comments, concerns, thanks for the visitors. What's up, Jared? So anyway, I'll talk to you guys later, and until the next one. All right. Bye-bye.